Now on these indeterminate plants, which we are allowed to prune, you got to be a little careful because... What's up, Lazy Dog fam? Hope all y'all are having an awesome day. It is Tuesday, April 23rd here in South Georgia. On our last video, we had a little tater talk. On this video, we're gonna have a little mater talk. I'm gonna show you something really easy to do that will make your tomato plants very happy. So our in-ground tomato plants are looking really good right now. Both those indeterminates and these determinates here, with the exception of that one right there, which is just a runt and looks like it needs to be replaced. Now one little problem I've got is I don't know which variety to replace it with. I know I planted BHN Gold at the front of the row. We've got Red Snapper in the middle of the row, and I know where my Roadsters start because those are always faster growing a little earlier, so those bigger plants there are Roadster. I guess it doesn't really matter which one we replace it with, and I don't really have a choice. Because I gave away all the rest of my Red Snapper plants late last week, I do have some of these BHN Gold plants left in the greenhouse. A little bit root bound, but it'll be okay. So we'll just have one less Red Snapper, one more of these gold tomato plants. So let's go ahead and make this substitution real quick. Like this won't affect anything else we're going to be doing today with our tomatoes. That one didn't even have many roots growing on it. So I'll dig me another hole right here. I might break up the base of that a little bit, so we don't have so much transplant shock. And we'll get that puppy down in the dirt there. Hopefully that one will do a lot better than its predecessor. And then over here in one of the raised beds, we've got 3 cherry tomato plants that are looking pretty awesome too. Now if you've been following for a while, you know I like to frequently remind you all that the size of the tomato plant you put in the ground doesn't really matter. A smaller transplant will oftentimes catch up to a larger transplant. A lot of people will contest that, but when we planted these, that tomato plant closest to me there was a lot smaller than those other 2. This one closest to me was planted out of a cell tray. Those other 2 were planted out of a 2.5-inch pot. So as you can see, the smaller transplant will catch up to the larger transplant, and it's not like we're going to get a huge delay on production from that smaller one compared to the bigger transplants we put in the ground. Now before we do this one special thing that's going to make our tomato plants very happy, we're going to feed them. And so I thought it'd be a good time to talk about feeding strategies with tomatoes versus some of the other vegetables we grow. So for these fruiting vegetables, although they're technically fruits because they come from a flower, things like tomatoes, peppers, squash, cucumbers, and even watermelons, those are going to benefit from something we call spoon feeding. So for some of the things we grow in our backyard garden, take that lettuce way behind me for example, we just feed it one time when we put transplants in the ground and we really don't have to feed it again. But some of the other stuff we grow, these fruits in particular, like to be fed on a regular basis. So it's not like we're just going to put down a bunch of fertilizer at one time and hope that carries them the distance. We're going to give them a little bit on a frequent basis. And it seems like everybody's got their own favorite tomato fertilizer. You talk to 10 different gardeners, you may hear them all using 10 different things. We're going to be using some AgriThrive fruit and flower today. I could inject it through my drip system here. I am set up to do that, but since we only got 2 rows here, I think I'll just use the bucket method. So we start out with a dog's bucket. That's a very important piece of the equation here, preferably a slightly faded dog's bucket, one that has some experience. You don't want a rookie dog's bucket out here when you're doing this. You need an experienced dog's bucket. So we're going to take this and then we're going to add some of this fruit and flour to it. So in these cases, I'm usually not one for measuring, just a little splash there. I don't know how many ounces that was, 10 or 12, maybe a little bit more. That should be enough though. And then I'm going to add some of this stuff here, which is a mixture of beneficial bacteria. One of them particularly is good for tomatoes, Bacillus amyloleekfascians. I think that's how you pronounce that. Anyways, this stuff can be sprayed on plants. It can also be used as a soil drench like we're going to use it today. So I'm going to put a few ounces of this in there, and we do have this stuff on our website at lazydogfarm.com if you want to give it a try. And we're going to take our water. Probably need a different. There we go. We're going to mix that up good, fill up our bucket. Alright, so now we got our bucket of business ready to go right here, and I'm going to take one whole scoop here close to 1 whole scoop without spilling it. We're just going to drizzle that around the base of each of these tomato plants. We don't want to do it too fast where it all runs away on us. Just slow and easy. So we gave a little juice to all those in-ground plants there. And it's not going to hurt, since we have some leftover juice in our bucket. Go ahead and hit these cherry tomato plants as well. Although these things are about as green as they could be. But this will help them out even more. And we might as well give her a little raised bed pepper some while we're at it. Y'all remember on that last video when I was trying to find some tater fruits to show y'all? I swore I had some, but I couldn't find any. Well, I took a little short break to give these tater plants their afternoon bath, and right there, staring right in front of me, is a pair of tater fruits. Don't eat those. So now that we've got all our tomato plants fed, it's time for this one easy trick that's going to make them very, very happy. And some of y'all out there already know what this is. So we're going to heal our tomato plants. That's heal with 2 L's, just like we heal corn, just like we heal potatoes. We're going to do it to these tomato plants. So for these determinate plants here, which we never want to prune, just want to let these babies grow, we're going to take our hoe. We don't need our big tater healing hoe for this. We can go with a little lighter duty equipment. Just going to take our hoe, and we're just going to pull some soil up around that plant. We'll do it on that side, and we'll come around here and do it on this side, just like that right there. Now on these indeterminate plants, which we are allowed to prune, you got to be a little careful, because you go to burying a bunch of tomato leaves, all the internet tomato experts is going to holler at you. So makes you feel better, come here, prune some of these bottom leaves on these indeterminates before you give them a good healing. And those same folks will also get real mad at you if you leave them tomato leaves on the dirt there. So be sure to pick those up, keep it nice and clean around your plant there. So now we can pull some dirt to these and heal them just like we did those determinate plants. Now back over here in the raised bed, it's going to be a little more tricky because we've got all those drip lines in the way. They're not buried under the plants like they are in the in-ground plot. I think what I'll do is grab me a bag of mushroom compost underneath the barn and just use that to heal them. Now you may be thinking, Trav, I buried my tomato plants halfway to Korea. Why I need to heal them? Just trust me on this one. When you do it, they will pop. We ain't been 5 minutes ago healed that roadster plant right there, and it's already put on 2 or 3 more leaves. Now I'm usually not one to do something just because somebody else is doing it, or do something just because the old timers do it, but this is one exception. You'll see a lot of the old timers around here healing their tomato plants, and there's a good reason why they do it. It's because it works. After you heal them, you'll see them pop in about 2 or 3 days, and they'll really take off. And kind of a side benefit, for me at least, it kind of kicks the can down the road as far as me needing to get my trellis set up here. So I can kind of delay that another week or so before I need to start putting some T-posts in the ground and thinking about running some string for my floor to weave. So remember to feed those tomato plants often. Every 2 to 3 weeks is not a bad idea. And if you feel so inclined, pull some soil up around those plants as well. And as always, you can find that AgriThrive fertilizer and that plant booster on our website at lazydogfarm.com. And if you just can't wait a couple weeks to see me do the Florida weave on these determinate tomatoes, you can watch the process on this video right here. We'll show you how far apart to put the stakes, how to get it all working together. So check that out, and we'll see you next time right here at Lazy Dog Farm.